Part 2 of The Glaring Night, Part 1 down below. I've had a pretty good weekend. Me and S4 went to a friend's house last night for dinner with another friend of mine. Our friend is trying to get us both to move in with her and rent her 2 extra rooms. That's a possibility and it would be a great move, I think. S4 wouldn't have his own room, but I only have him 3 nights a week. I think the fact that the roommates would be 1, a 30-year-old woman and her daughter, 9, and 2, a 30-year-old woman who has been an in-home childcare provider or nanny for 2 young boys for years. They would be about as kid-friendly roommates as I could find. I think my share of the bills would be all of $350 a month. Can't beat that. I am not sure how the courts would look upon that living situation though, which is why I am posting it here. What do you guys think? Where I am currently at, I rent a giant master bedroom for $500 a month but can only stay 6 months, 4 more left then I have to move out. I want to buy again next year and moving to the cheaper room would help me save money. I'd spend triple that on an apartment and utilities. Either way I end up moving in 4 months and if I can buy next year. I have always been the type to sacrifice short-term to make something happen, something the W never figured out. When she left, she basically told me what I think I figured out today. Now I feel bad because I thought it was absurd and it may not have been. Don't get me wrong, I do love my wife, I just no longer remember why. Maybe it's just familiarity and comfort. But it's obvious on her end, it was never really there. I should be grateful she left. I never would have left, hell I still miss her even though I can't explain why. I have been thinking about my marriage a lot the last few days and I started out being depressed by it. The more time I spend thinking about it though, the less I am depressed. Instead, I feel like I was taken advantage of, almost like I was robbed by her. Robbed of my time, money, and love. I feel betrayed by her. She left me once I wanted change so she could be single again, blaming me for the problems. Most of all, I feel responsible. This was my fault, not entirely, but I did let it happen. I did all the things I did for her and my family on my own. Now she had agreed to get a job when she quit the job she had right after our wedding. Then she agreed to get a job after the baby was born. Then it was after she was done breastfeeding. Then once he's old enough for daycare, on and on. After a while I made another mistake. I gave up. Nothing I had tried to fix our problems worked because I was the only one trying. She had no interest in it. I'm not sure how I should feel about that, but I can say I do wish I had done it differently. I have lived the last probably 3 to 5 years expecting something that was never promised and resenting her for not delivering. If you read above, I mentioned things were never that great in the first place. Now that I am thinking about it all, I can see that. It doesn't change the fact I do love my wife, although we have established that may just be my codependency. I don't know what's so hard to understand about the following statement. Please use email for all communication that is not urgent. If it is urgent, you can text me. I do not want to talk to you otherwise. She kicked S4 off the phone again tonight to talk to me. No craziness or anything. She wanted to know if I was coming to get S4 in the morning or if I was sending my mom like I did last week. Sadly, I am going to get him as mom's out of town. I'm not good at the 50K in person. That's why I am trying to keep it text, email only. After only 2 visits, my therapist has already said she thinks I have added, which I know I do. I cannot pay attention to anything for more than a few minutes. That's why I like text communication. I tend to stop listening on the phone. When I talk to her, I found something out though. She apparently is now only working 2 days a week again. She claims they cut her hours at work. I'm having a buddy of mine go in and ask if they are hiring. I don't buy it. I think it's the old poor me victim show right before court. On the plus side, since she is not working, I can pick up S4 a little later. 9 a.m. is really early for me as I don't get off work until 2 a.m. and I think I'm getting sick, so I don't want to cut my sleep short. Today I picked up S4 at noon at her place. She let me come in while she ran to the kids' room and grabbed something for me. We talked for a second and I asked her if she was okay. She answered with a hug. Now I can't rehash 3 hours of conversation that I had with her. Some of that time was spent playing with my stepdaughter, but most of it was spent sitting on the couch with her talking about us. She wants to work on things but is obviously being held back by the fact she is worried about how her family will treat her. They all hate me now because I haven't been involved in the stepdaughter's life since she left me. Her other big deal issue is my lack of empathy. I don't show any, ever. My therapist thinks I have added, which I agree with. Now my big problem. Next week court is Wednesday and I have a surprise for her. I have an attorney and she doesn't. I don't know what to do. If by miracle we manage to make a decision to work on things before then, we can call off court and refile later if needed. I am okay with the expense of that for the chance. But if we haven't gotten that far, I am worried I'll push her away by beating the crap out of her in court with an attorney. To answer pending questions, yes, she has slept with someone else. Only one, and once was her neighbor, sadly. She is interested in talking to another guy, but she has agreed to stop that if we are going to try. So, what do I do next? I want her back, but I want her to make an effort to have a healthy relationship with me. I love my wife. It's not all code pens talking. I had a great day today and all we did was sit together and I played with the kids a bit. I'm sure some economic insecurity plays into it. It's a present factor and as such would play into any decision. Neighbor guy is her neighbor. His kids are my stepdaughter's friends. It's her new neighbor at her app, so he wasn't around before she left. Yes, he's gotten the goods once. She said she has no interest in him, just happened one night. I am okay with this. I've been in a relationship with this issue once before, and although I wasn't able to deal with it that time, I learned how much it can bother you. This time I know I can accept it as happened. When she is almost out of money. 2 found out yesterday her job was cut to 2 days a week from 3. That means about 12 to 14 hours a week. 3 found out today my stepdaughter is off her meds for financial reasons. $75 a month. 4 I had the clutch redone on her car in Jan and she claims it's acting funny and mentioned today it's getting worse. She asked about the paperwork for what was done in Jan. 5 She's scared of getting a lot less for child support if the judge supports my argument. In a landslide victory, which won't happen, she actually could pay me due to her past income. She knows this and mentions it. 6S4 just had a dentist appointment and needs crowns and some of his back molars for cavities. 7 This ties in with number 5. My income is substantially lower this year. I told her that today, so if she has any sense, she will realize that means less child support. Non-financial issues she may want are wrongly for include. 1 She wants to move out of state as previously mentioned, however she clearly based on today's conversation has read enough to realize she will not be taking S4 with her as she goes. I'll win that custody fight. 2 Her nursing school she wants to start is set up in an unalterable schedule that makes working full-time next to impossible. Although that may be a $ reason also as a non-money reason. 3 She is also sick right now and may just be realizing how convenient it is to not be single and have help with everything in life. I have been thinking about this stuff all night at work. It's time I post a list of the things wrong with the marriage and see which ones are fixable, acceptable, or plain out a deal breaker. This list may need to be updated over the hours as I think of things. 1 Effort. She never put in any effort into the relationship or much of anything else. If something held no importance to her yet was very important to me, it still was of no importance to her. Typical nice guy. I was the opposite. This is a must-change item. Without change it's not going to work. 2 Effort into the normal household things you do, such as clean, watch the kids versus just be present in the same building. And all-around general parenting was poor. This is something we both need to work on. I am willing and have been working on it. If she is great, if not, I'm not interested. 3 The video games. Too much time spent on this. I have quit playing since I started posting here and I'm staying that way, except for maybe a single-player game one day, but no more online MMO-type time sinks. I'm not sure the best way to handle this. I don't think an expectation she just quits her hobby all out is fair, but maybe a limit like only on weekends or something. After the kids go to bed is not an option. She will just stay up all night. Suggestions. 4 Communication. We both need a lot of work here. I am getting better at expressing my thoughts through the help of friends, my therapist, and you. Thank you, Tam. This is also a requirement to change. 5 I'm not sure what to say about neighbor guy. Flat out, anyone she is semi-interested in is a no contact. But neighbor guy is her neighbor and my stepdaughter's friend's dad. She has no interest, it just happened. I get it. I think it's okay to say only minimal contact, absolutely no hanging out, period. But then what of my friends? Quick summary. I have 3 female friends from ages ago I have been spending time with. 1. Ex-GF from 10 plus years ago, 2-year relationship. No interest in her at all. 2. Old friend who 10 years ago I fooled around with, drunk twice. She is semi-gay and I'm not interested at all and never was. 3. Non-important mutual friend of the other 2 who is not around much and not a great friend but is around on occasion. I also had a thing for her in high school. But whatever, I'm 30, so 10 years ago means these are all HS friends. My therapist says friend number 2 is okay, but we haven't talked about the others. 6. Antisocial with other women. She can't get along with any of my friends' wives or girlfriends. There is always something wrong with them. I can't live like this anymore. I need friends and socializing. For someone who complains so much we don't do anything, she sabotages all our friendships. This has to change. It's a longer list than I thought it would be. Might be too long to expect things to work. But everything on that list except neighbor guy and antisocial I am guilty of myself, and are also changes I expect myself to do for me. I am changing these things to improve my life with or without her. If she will make an effort to work on them also, we could possibly be together again. My stepdaughter. The issue is that I have almost zero emotional connection to anyone, including her. My W is upset I don't love the stepdaughter after 6 years. It's not something I can make happen. Only 2 people in the world I love, my wife and my son. My mother isn't even on that list. I've never given it any thought because I don't get emotionally attached to people at all, but I don't. If you're not one of the 2 people listed above, I won't shed a tear if you're gone. A number of close family members over the years have passed, some very close, and it doesn't bother me a bit. The W was the exception. Something about her I connected with. I felt close to her and comfortable with her. She was like my best friend who I felt I could spend the rest of my life with. It's the reason I married her. My son, well, I just can't help it. He's my son. I loved him the moment I saw him. My stepdaughter has oppositional defiant disorder and was on mediation for AD. She drives me completely nuts most of the time. Not an evil kid, she's only 9, but oh does she drive me nuts. If I can find a good thing about this divorce, it's not having her be my problem anymore. That is a major thing that makes me unsure if I want to go back. She is only going to get to be more of a pain as she gets older, especially with the lack of supervision she gets from her mother. She just lets her run the apartment complex. She's always just let her do whatever. That's one reason my list of things I need to see improvement on has parenting on it. The W is flat out lazy as can be. I don't know how much she can change these things. I think it's possible, as I am making sincere changes to myself in all these areas. Admittedly, I am not making the changes as well as I would like. Exercise is a great example. I am still not doing that as I hate it. Although I am obviously doing just enough for her to notice, as she commented on my arms today, and I am now a little more motivated. I am also a jealous person, and she seems to like to use that against me. Examples are today she went out of her way a number of times to talk about how once she left me at work, they all call her a hot wife now constantly, and how many guys are trying to date her. It's a rare thing that anyone says or comments on me, but when it does happen, I never went home and told her because I knew it would bother her, as she really is insecure. She used to be a sweet, fun little girl. We would play games together a lot. I would read to her and we watched TV together. Me and my stepdaughter were very close until the last 1 to 2 years. I miss that her, but am sort of relieved the person she is becoming is possibly out of my life. But also worried because she is not out of my son's life and I'm not there to try and keep her on track. Over the years she has turned into the beginnings of a person I do not like. It's crazy how a 9-year-old can flat out be manipulative. She comes home from school and brags about getting the boys at school to give her things or do things. She searches the house for cash when you are not looking and steals it to buy candy and snacks. She constantly sets up situations for drama by lying to me or my wife about each other or about my son. It's crazy how she acts, and my wife doesn't feel the need to take her to therapy. I bet it's due to laziness. Oh, and that victim chair is my stepdaughter's main seat. She loves it like you wouldn't believe. It's amazing how she actually believes she's the victim when being punished for something you literally warned her about and watched her to continue to do just to spite you. Full speed ahead on the D for now. Regardless of tonight's outcome, we're too close to the court date to change anything, and I want her to realize I'm not just throwing in the towel and racing back to save the day. That list of financial reasons to R is too long, so if we do work on things, the money is staying separate and we will more or less be dating. I am not comfortable being her supporter and rescuing her, then being dumped again. Is it a fair requirement from me to expect her to seek some therapy? I'd even be willing to help her pay for that after her free visits run out, as I know she can't afford it after that, and I think it would benefit her. Other things I need to see is a willingness to deal with the fact I have to plan things. I do not function well without a plan. This drives her nuts. I can plan not to plan. Example, plan a day on a vacation to just do whatever. I also need to see a willingness to invest in our future through saving towards goals such as vacation, house, new car, and so on. I do not like her way of doing things, which is credit. Most importantly, I need to know she will take my needs seriously and will not just dismiss them as she had in the past. It will be a lot of work to resist always fixing things for her, but if I am going to get what I want out, I need to learn to not just freely give what she wants without communicating my expectations. Dinner. First off, she is hesitant to work on things. The message of the night was essentially she doesn't know what she wants. She clearly misses me in some regard but is unable to really figure things out. She said she hasn't really given this any, though it just sort of happened. Later in the night I asked about the hug yesterday, why she hugged me and what she was thinking. Her reply was she wasn't sure. She is stressed out and that there's something comforting about me. She points out right after that she doesn't know what she wants. She wasn't as close tonight as yesterday. Yesterday we sat together on the couch for most of the time I was there. Today it was at the dinner table all night except an hour on the couch watching TV with the kids. I made it a point a few times to stand closer or farther from her and pay attention to what she would do. She kept a minimum distance between us of about a foot but wouldn't stray much out of 2 feet when we were standing talking. If I moved closer, she backed away. If I moved away, she would slowly come closer. She initiated a few hugs throughout the night, as did I during conversations. When I initiated, she would cut them short. When she initiated, they would linger. She came out to my car after I left to have S4 sign a Father's Day card, which gave me a few minutes alone with her without kids, as he was in the car and stepdaughter was inside. During this time, I cannot remember who initiated, but we had a nice long hug that ended with me going to give her a kiss on the cheek. As I let go, she turned into it, maybe unintentionally or out of habit. Overall, I am not getting the idea she is after coming back to me to make life easy on herself. She seems that she wants us to keep our distance and take things slowly, if at all. Things we discussed tonight. She made it a point to say if we work on things, she doesn't want me to move right back in. This is okay, I agree. We talked about my lack of empathy and how it bothers here. I can't fix this, but I can try more to understand and listen, but we'll need reminders. I cannot change this, but with help I can work around it. She is unsure as to whether or not she can trust the fact I do love her. This is not normal, but I do not attach emotionally to people. If a relative dies, most people are sad. It doesn't bother me at all. I have only ever had real feelings for 3 people in my life. As far as she knows, the number is 2. Her and my son. And my cat is a kid, but that cat hid under the bed with me when my dad came home every night. I can't really explain this any better than that. The example she cited is my mother. Her mother and my mother both did the same thing to us as kids, stayed in a relationship with an abusive father. She says even with that in mind, she still loves her mother even if she dislikes that about her. My mother is someone who babysits for me. She is a nice person I visit and likes the kids. I visit and interact with her solely because I am supposed to. I have no feelings towards her one way or the other. My W says because of these things she knows about me, she is unable to feel certain about me loving her. My troubles with this are the reason I never left my W even when unhappy. I fear I may have trouble finding this again. I felt comfortable with her from the very beginning, and even if her actions don't make me happy, her smile always did. I can see her concern and have no idea how to counter it. We talked about the bad physical life we had, and I reminded her that it wasn't entirely on me. We had our son sleeping in our bed. I work a different shift than what is normal, and when we did find the time and run from the kids, they would both be at the door banging on it. There's no time for foreplay when your goal is to hurry up because the kids are banging on the door. Her thoughts on marriage in general are a concern to me. She considers it a waste and hassle, like it means little more than getting the goft involved in your separation. To me, it's a commitment to the other person to try and work through your problems in an effort to stay together. She seems to think now that that's a stupid idea. If it's time to end a relationship, it's just time to end it. Doesn't seem to grasp the concept of commitment. You commit to another and they to you. This is an odd thing to me, as commitment seems such a basic thing. I love her, but this attitude has me concerned that if we got back together, how long till I end up here again? This is a major factor in my thinking. R is not wise now. We talked about expectations in a relationship. She said she is tired of expectations. I said they are normal. You would expect me not to sleep with anyone else. Is that not an expectation of yours, and a fair one at that? She seemed rather defensive while on this subject, like she is looking to protect herself from having to make changes. Not a good sign. She even took a more defensive posture during this part of our talks, stepping back to her furthest point from me of the night. She flat out said she is worried I'd ask her to stop playing video games. I told her I won't ask her to stop entirely, but they must be kept within reasonable limits, as I am not going back to what was. She said she hardly plays anymore, just a little every day, to which I told her if that is the case, acknowledging that you need to keep that in check and under control shouldn't be an issue. She basically has expectations but doesn't want to communicate them, and doesn't feel comfortable with me communicating mine, like I am placing rules on her. We talked about Lizzie a little bit and about S4 and how much better off they would be with both of us in their lives full time. I told her I don't want her back if that's the reason, but that she is correct, they would benefit if it happened and we had a healthy relationship. I also pointed out to her our not having a clue what we are doing in a relationship is due to our parents not properly showing us. I don't think that it occurred to her before. Thank you, Tam, for pointing that truth out. She agreed with me on this. We talked about her working. I told her I do not want and will not get back together with her without a full-time job. Period. She needs to work, not for money reasons, but because she is unhappy at home and displayed to me her lack of effort over the years at finding a job when I was providing. She will be much happier working and needs the push to get it done. Surprisingly, she agreed with me. I brought up marriage counseling. She said no, she hates those people, they make her cry. And she states that crying is disgusting and so she will not go back. I am not surprised, but I am going to try more later on this. I think I need her in therapy of some sort for her issues with expectations and commitment if this is going to work. She brought up, in regard to my being able to truly love her, the fact at one point last year I was not attracted to her. She says love should not care about looks or a few pounds. I told her it wasn't the number of pounds, it was how and why you had them. Sitting on your butt all day in front of a game and never doing anything is how you got them. A normal amount of activity would have you looking good. You only looked bad because you were lazy. She looked good after a month or so at the pizza job, and that was only 20 hours a week. She looks great now size-wise, thinnest I have ever seen her. Too thin for me, but hey, it'll come back. She talked briefly about money. If we work on R, she doesn't want money to be joined back together, ever. She wants each person to keep her money separate and do things that way. This I cannot figure out how it would work fairly. Bottom line is she would never save for retirement, knowing full well I would do it. She would save for vacations instead and expect me to pay my way to go along, her words. That way I can save for a vacation and go, and if you want you could save some money and come to my thoughts. Selfish, immature, unrealistic, not a chance. All in all, I love her but wonder what the hell I am thinking this could possibly work. I can't handle this if she's not thinking R and willing to make changes. I will give her a little more time to think about this now that she is obviously unsure. I am going to give her Too Good to Leave, Too Bad to Stay Sunday night. I hope I can get it all read by then, as it has helped me see things more clearly. It has also helped me a bit in understanding what a healthy relationship looks like. I need a book that demonstrates a healthy relationship that I can pass along after I read it. Mrs. Needs Her needs a good one. I have it on my desk but haven't gotten to it. I think the therapy part is going to be my deal breaker. I think she needs it for us to succeed. She needs to grow up and realize that just because she isn't comfortable talking about something doesn't mean it can be ignored. I think I can work on this issue a bit by giving her a book or two to read and see if she reads them and considers the possibility that therapy isn't bad. This also reminded me why she stopped taking the stepdaughter to a therapist. The therapist turned on her a few times, me too, about parenting issues. Boom, no more visits. Editing and something I forgot. I miss my W. I miss having a family. But after an afternoon and an evening back, I am uncertain as to whether or not I miss my stepdaughter. She hasn't been on her meds for a month, so she is definitely not on her best behavior, and I need to remember that. But I don't know. She had to be told things over and over and over again tonight. That wasn't even always enough. I didn't realize how peaceful not living with her was until tonight. She really was always a sore spot in our home life, as she always just caused so much trouble. Do I really want to sign myself back up for that after having been released from it? S4 would benefit, as his sister's bad behavior is something he will have to live with half the time. My W, who I love, would benefit from it, as two parents trying to manage an ADD, oppositional defiant disorder child, is surely better than one. Does that add up to me being better off, or me setting myself up for years of dealing with her only to potentially be left by my W again later? Sigh, I just don't have a clue what to do. So many things here that scream don't go back, and a small number of very big things pushing me to want R. I know there needs to be some change, but which items are my deal breakers I am not so sure. She claims to have gotten to the point she plays at night after the kids are in bed for a few hours, then goes to bed herself. As someone who has played entirely too much, I understand it's an addiction, but I know I plan on playing games again in the future once I am a better person. I do not feel I need to ask her to quit playing, but only if the rest were to be resolved. If she were to work on herself, which at this point is seeming highly unlikely, but if she were to work on herself and keep them in check, I don't see a problem with video games. It is her only hobby. As her things being right now, I'm not interested in R without her working on herself, and until she works on herself, she will remain confused, and any decisions made cannot be trusted to last. Now, if there is anything I can do to help guide her in the right direction to work on herself, I am interested in doing that. Maybe it will happen in a timely fashion and we can work on things, maybe not, but I see no harm in offering suggestions on a book to read or telling her what I think. What's the worst that could happen? She's already gone. I have given up video games on a temporary basis until I am at a point I am comfortable with myself again. Then I fully intend to pick them back up, but in a healthy way. That to me is a limited amount of play, with the exception of maybe the first weekend when you get a new game, then it's on. I got to beat it. I do not feel it is fair to expect something of a partner I would not do myself, so I honestly don't feel right even considering expecting her to quit gaming. Cut down, play reasonably, and not negatively affect other aspects of your life. That is in my mind what I should expect. She was late calling for S4 to say goodnight, but she did take the phone from him again to talk to me. We only talked for a few minutes, but she wanted to let me know she got the book and she is going to read it after court. I basically told her that's fine, she can read it whenever she wants. I just felt it helped me and that she might benefit from reading it. She seems glad I'm talking to her again, but I only intend to do so if she wants to work on things. Otherwise, this is going back to email and texting. How long should I expect it to take her to figure things out? I know everyone here says she wants me as plan B, but I honestly believe her that she is confused. But I can't do this forever. How does the 180 fall into my new situation? I know the 180 didn't have me going over for dinner, but until she figured things out, should I be trying to follow it still? Got some news that's both good and bad. The judge in family court issued a continuance. Court is now August 16th, not this week. He wants us to resolve our parenting issues before we come in to resolve the support issues. On the plus side, gives me more time to see what she is up to in regard to R without having to cause a problem in that department by nailing her with a surprise attorney in court. On the downside, flat out ruins my chance of taking the other job I want to try and get, as it would be a ton of overtime, but only for 6 months, and I can't be working like that when child support is being calculated only to have the project end, go back to normal right afterwards. I am going to start giving her some support money now, as she will not make it 2 more months, and it's to that point. Just haven't decided how much to give her. Based on her current numbers, I'd owe $420, but I don't know if willingly paying more than what I'm fighting to get it down to is a good idea when it comes time to go to court. I'll probably pay the $400 as I know she needs it. I spoke with the DAW's office and they have placed a hold on my support case to let us finish our court case and establish her income in court. The lady there advised me I do not have to give her anything until then, and if I do that, anything I pay and document will be applied to any retroactive money, but will not be applied to any future payments if they do not award retroactive money. After listening to my friend who worked for the DA's office tell me over and over I'm going to get screwed by them if I pay without going through the DA, I'm surprised how easy they were to deal with. That's a lot of stress relieved right there. So, I am working on a list of expectations right now, so if she does decide, which I think she is going to, that she wants to work on things, I am ready. I've decided that if even one thing on whatever list I come up with is not okay, I'm not interested in R, but I need help with the list. I'm not sure what I should put on it. Here's a quick summary of what I have so far. 1. No contact with the 2 guys she was interested in when she moved out. No contact with whoever she is talking to now. This she agreed to already. Minimal contact with the neighbor she slept with. His kids play with my stepdaughter. I don't see how she won't talk to him once in a while, but absolutely no hanging out with him. 2. Major reduction in time spent playing video games. I don't want to ask her not to play them as it's her only hobby. She doesn't have any others, and it's one we share. I want to set a limit on this. If she's serious about ours, she shouldn't argue about it. If she does, her loss. 3. A job. I already told her work full-time or I'm not interested in her. This is not about money. She was depressed as a stay-at-home mom to the point she was unable to get a job when she tried. She is doing a lot better at the job hunt now that the pressure is on. But whatever, she never admitted to the depression, but it was obvious. I tried to get her to go see someone, but she never would. 4. One day money will be joint again. She has to be on board with that idea and willing to budget and work together. 5. The truth. I want her to tell me why she left. I don't really care what she says, I just want her to sit down and explain it, as I've gotten no real answers yet. With this, I'll expect to see remorse in her own what she did wrong. Without those things, I cannot possibly believe she's sincere in wanting our. I've already owned up to my part in this. It's time she did the same. Anything I'm not thinking of. I am considering adding marriage counseling to the list, but I know she absolutely hates therapists, and I'm not sure it should be a requirement of mine, possibly because I'm worried that MC would be the deal breaker for her. My comment, ending will come tomorrow. Do you think OP will pull through a happy ending? Or it will be something else? Do you think he is on the right track so far? Comment down below, and I'll see you in the ending.